really looking forward to seeing you soon in Costa Rica.
Beautiful. Me too. Yes.
Very excited. Mati, I was just with a young friend of mine. She's in her early 20s. And she was struggling a lot with the issue of identity. And am I American? Am I Costa Rican? Am I Israeli? Because her father's Israeli, her mother is American, and she grew up in Costa Rica, and she's sensing this not belongingness to any one place.
Yes.
And my heart really went out to her, and I was thinking about the non-dual way of approaching her suffering. Her suffering is one where she has a need to have a solid identity of who she is, not finding it. And I found myself being present and listening and wanting to share with her what we talk about here. And feeling like it wasn't going through, and perhaps it's the stage in her life. She's younger and needing identity. Just wanted to see if you have any advice in that regard.
Yeah. You know what we are looking for, Maria, is love. And in love, we are one in this identity. If you want to use the term identity, so in love we are one. In love we are whole. We are the wholeness. If any other identity with a nationality, identity with family, identity with one's community, with one's organization, these sorts of identities are still limited. There are boundaries to them. And what we are looking for is an identity that is without any boundary. An identity that's where we're completely embracing everything and everybody and being embraced by everything and everybody. So and we love when we are completely absent, meaning when we are in our complete innocence, in our complete purity of presence. Then there is the love of presence, love of being. There is complete absence of any judgment, and in the listening itself is love. When the listening doesn't have any personal interest, any personal agenda, any personal effect, then the listening itself is love. And
right.
And yeah.
Maybe I had an agenda of wanting her to see beyond the limiting identities that was causing her suffering. And it was clear to me she was looking for a sense of belongingness.
Yes.
And
Yes. So there is a belonging that is healing, and there is a belonging that is binding, is sort of a burden. So the belonging that is an open belonging, meaning like belonging to universal beingness, or belonging to the heart, or belonging to the love, or belonging to the wholeness. So this sort of belonging is a non-objective belonging. It's more of sort of a belonging at the qualities, the higher qualities of the self, the higher qualities of consciousness, which we all resonate with: charity, affection, compassion, love, understanding. So that sort of, if you want to use the term identity, that sort of identity that looks at those qualities, they call us, they draw us to them, because it's a sort of there is a light of consciousness that we are loving and we are honoring. And you wanting to help this person is very beautiful. It's very beautiful. But we don't help when we are coming from some sense of urgency, or sort of feeling that it's a matter of life or death. It's not. It's the entire show is really the play of consciousness. The entire show is just as it needs to be. Just whatever is unfolding for us is a topic of contemplation for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the primary identity that we have is identityless. We are initially, in our original beingness, we are identityless. We are just the wholeness of being, the innocence of being, the freedom of being, the joy of being, you see. And then, of course, there is the body-mind identification that comes through. And when this body-mind identification comes through, then, of course, we are seeking, we are hoping for the return to our innocence, to our purity, to our, like the Buddhists say, to our true nature.
Mm-hmm. So in a sense, this longing of belongingness, like she's blonde and blue-eyed, and she wants to be identified as a Costa Rican person, and the Costa Rican people are not, well, I wouldn't say accepting her, but doubting whether she belongs here.
Yeah.
In essence, that ultimate longing for belongingness is this return of the belonging to our true nature.
Yes. So,
but it comes out as kind of wanting to belong to being a Costa Rican or whatever.
yes, when you want to be Costa Rican, then you're in trouble, because as you just pointed out, you may be accepted, you may not be accepted, and then if you're accepted, then you have to agree with the Costa Rican philosophy, their politics, their governance, whatever, the whole package, and it's impossible to be agreeing with the entire package. You're going to find some things that you agree with, some things you disagree with, and so you are in this sort of, you're going to be in some sort of conflict when you want to identify with any form. There is going to be some sort of limitations. It's a matter of time, and for this young person, she's experiencing that right away, which is really nice, because it may bring her to to contemplate the angst, all the travails, all the difficulties of belonging, of identification, and hopefully it will bring her to more to contemplate a freedom from identification, a freedom from belonging. Actually, when you look at the term itself, belonging, it's a longing to being, the be.
Yes.
Longing. So we're longing to being, but we are being. With the beingness is not being a man, a woman, an American, a Costa Rican, a French, or any of those sorts. It's pure being. So there is the other side. You want to be Puerto Rican, or you want to be Costa Rican, then there is going to be the other side, okay?
Yeah, either this or that. Yeah.
Yes, there is going to be the good and the bad, and she's experiencing right away the rejection in some circles, and so it's creating some sort of conflict within her and unhappiness within her, and so. If she directs this unhappiness towards being accepted within a certain group, within a certain circle, she's then directing her efforts in the wrong direction, because you are struggling, you're arguing with God's design. So God's design is you are blonde, blue eyes, and you are not being accepted. So that is God's design, and it has one purpose, which is for you to come closer to your freedom. You see, closer to your freedom. But you can spend a lot of energy trying to be accepted, but this will not get you closer to your freedom, because any acceptance by others is just a small drop of your acceptance of yourself. The acceptance of yourself is not an acceptance of yourself as somebody. It's an acceptance of the self. The acceptance of the self. But you cannot accept the self if you don't recognize the self. So you have to recognize the self, and in the self-recognition is acceptance. Now, it depends, when you are with somebody and you're having conversation with them, the conversation goes on at different levels, because there are different levels of understanding.
Yes.
And you can sense by being attentive within at what level you can share. Understanding that the highest level of sharing is the love, which is the presence. And the presence is your absence.
And
sometimes when we are experiencing some difficulties, we're experiencing the emotions. The emotions, they're like an increase in temperature. The heat is raised, is increased. And sometimes by increasing the heat, by increasing the intensity, you're also it's a process by which some of the structures that we have within also get softened with the heat. They get softened.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing to be experiencing rejection or to be experiencing some of the emotions. It's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
part of the process, you see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So first, you need to realize that you are not Costa Rican. So then you speak not as a Costa Rican, not as a woman, not as a person. You speak as the loving, listening, aware space. And the recognition that this loving, listening, aware space is also what is listening, not just what is speaking, but what is listening. It's this one loving, aware space that we all are.
Mm-hmm. It's very beautiful.
So in your own space, in your own body mind, there is a thinning out, a relaxation of the being, a relaxation of beingness, relaxation of your chest, of your belly, and sort of a falling back into the vastness, sort of leaning back into the vastness of being, and allowing all images, all sensations to sort of also recede in the vastness of being. Then it is the vastness of being that speaks, that hears, that is. And everything that arises, comes into that space. There is nobody at home, but this nobody at home is this vastness of being. You see? There isn't any wall anywhere. It's all transparent, and that's the transparency of being. So she can sense your heart. She can sense the love, the ocean of love in your being. And that is where she will find all her answers. They may not be verbal answers, but they're the true answer. What she truly seeks is the ocean of bliss that I am.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So you can share the silence also. Sometimes it's good to just be, just to be.
Yeah.
Just to be together. Breathe together. Sense what's going on together. So that the invitation is to connect with that, the deep stillness that's within. once we get a taste of that, it's a taste of love and joy and happiness and peace. And that's always available to us. Okay, Maria, very beautiful. Okay. Oh, hello, Rhonda. Rhonda, you ask what experiences pain and pleasure? You do. You do. You experience pain and pleasure. I experience pain and pleasure. Now, the question is, what is this I? Yes? Yes? Let me see. Okay. So the question is, what is this I? You see. So right now, before we even go into pain and pleasure, you are experiencing this perception. You're experiencing certain bodily sensation. Yes? So turn your attention to that. Whatever it is, or just be with the I that experiences right now this perception. I perceive this perception. This I has no shape and no form. A shape or a form may appear, like for example, this perception has a certain shape, a certain color, a certain form. But the I that perceives this perception, that has no form, has no shape and no form. You have to turn your attention to that and notice that indeed that is the case. This is what I refer to as consciousness, awareness, presence, beingness, Atman. The I, this aware, awake presence, effortless. It's not a personal perceiver. It's an impersonal perceiver that has no gender, no shape, no form, no size, no density. Does not exist. It's not in time and space. It is. Isness. So you need to turn your attention to the reality that perceives. So that's what we refer to as I. Habitually, we think that I am a male or a female, I am tall or short, or I'm American or Costa Rican, or so there is a thought, there is an added on qualification, an added on quality. I'm good, I'm bad. That's a thought. And of course there is a sensation, we sense that, we feel that. And we mistake the I of beingness, which is consciousness, universal beingness. We mistake that to be what the thought says. Oh, I'm a man born in such and such a country, on such and such a village, such and such a year. But these thoughts appear to you, appear to consciousness. Whatever appears to consciousness is not descriptive. It cannot speak of what consciousness is. Like when you perceive an oak tree, the oak tree cannot speak of what you are. So to become familiar with the I of consciousness, the I, the true I, beingness, is an important contemplation. Now, your question was, what is it that experiences pain and pleasure? There is a thought that arises. A thought may arise saying, I want to have a lot of money. And then you win the lottery. And there's a lot of money that comes into your bank account. And you experience this pleasure. It's not happiness, it's a pleasure, because it's a feeling, it's an emotion that is connected to some event. Any emotions that is connected to an event, winning, losing, being disappointed, or being satisfied with what happens in the world, all these are not happiness. They are pain or pleasure. So the question is, what is it that experiences that thought? And of course, when you win $1 million and you have a lot of money in your bank, you're feeling a lot of pleasure, you're feeling it in your body. Not only you understand that now your bank account is up to $2 million, but you also feel this pleasure. What is it that experiences the thought? It is I. And what is it that experiences the bodily sensation? It is that same I. I referring to awareness. Whatever it is that right now also perceives this perception. Awareness being the space-like quality in which all events appear, and out of which these events are made. That this perception right now arises in awareness. So its primary reality is awareness. And its substance is awareness, because it is awareness itself that perceives it out of itself. I'm saying out of itself because the perception is not apart from awareness. The perception and the awareness that perceives the perception are at zero distance of each other. This is why it is said that awareness is the reality of all what is perceived. It is the space-like quality in which all appearances appear, and out of which these appearances are made. So the answer to your question is, pain and pleasure arise to I. That same I, which is the same I to which the thought arises, and the same I to which the sensation arises. Whether it's a positive thought, I'm a great person, I'm very, very wealthy, or a negative thought, I'm poor and very confused, and doesn't matter what is being perceived. It's that I, the same I, which is not a male or a female, it's consciousness, awareness, that perceives pain and pleasure. Now, it's important to understand that the I that perceives pain and pleasure does not feel pain, does not feel pleasure. Pain and pleasure are a dimension at a level, at a let's say a local event that do not affect the I, the universal I. Think of an ocean, thousands and thousands of miles of ocean, and somewhere in the ocean, there is a little whirlpool. The whirlpool is, let's say, pleasure, and is, using that metaphor, is an event of pleasure or pain. The ocean is completely unaffected, untouched by pleasure and pain, is unaffected by this whirlpool, this local event. The problem we have in our experience is that we overlook the ocean, and we're so identified with the whirlpool. We struggle with the whirlpool. We want the whirlpool to stop, stop, stop. We want the whirlpool to stop. And because we want the whirlpool to stop, this whirlpool continues. Because we give our energy to the whirlpool, we're so identified with the whirlpool that we overlook the vastness of being, we overlook the bliss of being, the ocean of being. So your question is a very important question, because it is a question about consciousness. What is it that is experiencing this perception? What is it that is experiencing pain? What is it that is experiencing pleasure? It is always I. Now you have to also contemplate what is pain and pleasure. Why is there pain and pleasure? Why do you experience pain and pleasure? Not why. What is the mechanism by which you experience pain and pleasure? You have to look within yourself. When something is unfolding in your life and you want it to be different, you're resisting. You're saying, no, it should be different. It should not be like that. It should not happen to me. You're going to experience some pain, some sorrow, some unhappiness. And when you are perceiving that there is something lacking in your life, you need this, you need that to be happy. I need to have a bigger house. I need to have a better situation. My family should be more loving. My friends should love me. Whenever you are seeking something, the resisting and seeking come hand in hand. And this is the unhappiness that we experience. Now, why do we do that? We don't do that because we enjoy it, because it's happy. We do that because we feel that we need to do that for our own salvation, for our own well-being, for our own happiness. We feel that we need to have more and more money in order to be happy. Because we are identified as a person, as this body-mind. We're identified as a form. And when we identify as a form, then we will be experiencing a lack and the need to do something in order to be happy. Because our true nature is not a form. Our true nature is consciousness, is formless. Whenever we identify as a form, we've reduced our wholeness to this encapsulated, limited field. And that, we don't love that. We want to go back to our wholeness. And it's very beautiful to want to go back to your wholeness. But you cannot go back to your wholeness by getting more money or a better house or a better husband or a better wife or a better friends or a better partner or better boss. That's not how you return to your wholeness. You return to your wholeness by realizing what you truly are. That you are the wholeness of being. You don't distract yourself with pleasure and pain. Because pleasure and pain are distraction away from the contemplation of the wholeness of being. The wholeness of being is what I am. You do not need to move away from it. You need to just come to the stillness and to the contemplation of the reality. Whatever it is real in your experience. And what is real in your experience is not something that comes and goes. It's the eternity of being, the eternity of consciousness. Now, we confuse pleasure with happiness. Happiness is the absence of any issues, the absence of any needs, the absence of any sense of lack. And we feel a glimpse of happiness when we get what we want. If we want to win the lottery and we win the lottery, we feel a glimpse of happiness. A moment is a flash of happiness. Because at that moment, our desire is annihilated. Our specific desire to win the lottery is annihilated. But the entire body of desires is not annihilated. The source of desire is not annihilated. In non-dual contemplation, we try to annihilate, or use that term, it sounds violent, but it's okay. The whole, the factory of desire, which is the identification with the body-mind. Because when you win the lottery, there is one desire that's satisfied, but another desire is going to arise, and now I want to buy the Taj Mahal. Because you have $1 million, I know, you know how much you want. So now you have another desire, meaning in another state of disequilibrium. Anyways, I'm going way beyond your question, Rhonda. So Rhonda, you're right. My next question is about desires. Do you follow your desires even though you know beforehand that they will not make you happy, or do you just wait for desire to subside? Well, there is desire and desire. There is a desire that arises out of a sense of lack. And that desire that arises out of sense of lack can only be fulfilled by contemplating the sense of lack and coming to the end of the sense of lack. If you follow desire that arises out of a sense of lack, you will not come to your goal. So you need to, instead of pursuing the desires that come out of a sense of lack, meaning I need to live in Hawaii, and if I live in Hawaii, I'll be happy. Because here I'm unhappy. Why are you unhappy here? So you go to Hawaii. And then in Hawaii, then you find that, oh, you're unhappy in Hawaii because you live 4 miles away from the ocean. You need to live 1 mile away from the ocean. Now you are unhappy 5 miles away from the ocean. You need to move. Then you move 1 mile away from closer to the ocean. Now you're unhappy because there's too much wind in the evening. And on it goes. Because you have not contemplated what is the source of your desire. And the source of your desire is the unhappiness that I'm experiencing now. So all you're doing is moving your unhappiness from here, moving it there, and from there to there, and from there to there. Now there is a desire. I wouldn't call it desire, I would use the term love. It's a desire for God, for truth, for peace, for happiness, for love. So it's a love of truth, a love of desire, a love of joy, of sharing, of celebrating. There are desires, I wouldn't say desires, they're like the celebratory intentions. Like, I would love to travel to Hawaii. Why not? I have the money to do it, I have the time to do it, and I heard there are beautiful tropical plants there, beautiful beaches, lovely people. I'd love to go explore it. But it's arising, that desire is arising out of your freedom. And if it doesn't happen, if somehow it doesn't occur, it's fine, no problem. Well, all is well. So a desire that you can be without it and all is well is an okay desire. But the desire that you need to have in order for things to be well, then you have to be wary of such a desire. So I hope that clarified that question. So at the source of the desire, you have to find whether there is peace or turmoil. If there is turmoil, you need to contemplate that turmoil. Yes? Hello, Nanda. So, Ananda, you're right. In this life, there appears to be no escape from hurting others emotionally. You never hurt others emotionally, Ananda. This is a hoax. This is not that you never hurt others emotionally, because others is just a mind. It's mind. Mind. Let me continue reading. Anyways, hurting others emotionally. You see, others get hurt emotionally because the potential of them being hurt emotionally is already there. Is there. So if it's not you who's hurting them emotionally, the weather will hurt them emotionally, or Trump will hurt them emotionally, or their brother, mother-in-law, or neighbor will hurt them emotionally. So the potential of them being hurt emotionally is there, and so it is not something that you are doing. My own needs and desires can be accepted, but when another suffers,
I mean, if something is, if I have the desire to go to Hawaii and I can't make it, I can't. It doesn't work out. I could deal with that. It doesn't get to me. But when I think someone else is suffering because I said I can't take you to Hawaii, and they suffer, then I feel guilty.
So you're feeling it because you cannot take them to Hawaii. They want to go to Hawaii, but you cannot take them.
No.
Repeat that.
No. That yes. That's
that too.
In other words, it seems like I'm implicated in the other person.
Yeah.
Even though I understand that they have the potential, and it's going to be something is going to.
So you want them to love you. Why don't you love yourself? Yes. You can love yourself. Why? Since you have such an abundance of love, why do you have to knock on somebody else's door or go to the next neighbor to get the love that is all available to you right now, right here? So love yourself 100%, right on. You don't need to move 5 feet away or 10 feet away, or you can get it right there.
Or call somebody up and make them happy. I feel good.
Well, you can call somebody because you are happy. You see, you're happy, and you want to call your friend and say, hello, how are you, and come and have a cup of tea, or let's go for a walk, or that's beautiful. But to want to make them happy is assuming already that they're unhappy, and unhappiness doesn't belong to the person. Unhappiness is the person. So when you're trying to make a person unhappy,
excuse me, I got a bronchitis. Excuse me.
help you feel better.
Yes, if you're trying to make another person happy, you're the unhappiness is the person,
Yes, the unhappiness is the person.
and
So the best way you can make a person happy is to slay them.
yes,
But you cannot slay them if they're not willing to be slayed, you see.
you're right.
Slayed or slain? Slain.
To slay them.
Yeah, to slay them. But you cannot slay them except if they are willing to be slain. Slain. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you got it. So, and of course, so that comes originally from offering them giving the offer to be slain. The most compassionate way to do that is for me to let go of the whole house of cards.
Yes, yes, because you cannot share with others what you have not realized, what you don't fully know experientially. So the slaying of the ignorance starts within oneself, and once there is that experiential, unquestionable, undeniable knowingness, then everything comes to order. When there is iron filing closer to the magnet, it's drawn to the magnet. It operates. The filing, iron filing.
Yes.
It operates that way. There isn't a personal intention. It's just love, and out of love we embrace. Love is embracing, you see. So there is an embracing quality at the heart level, but you cannot you cannot when you go to the meter, to the parking, to park your car, there is a slot in the meter machine. You put the quarter in the slot. You cannot put the quarter if there is no slot. There has to be a slot.
Right.
That's it. I was parking earlier today, so that's. But,
so like if you have friends with no slots.
Yes, right. Right. There has to be the openness, you see, and the openness. You can perceive the openness, and you can sense. You can also sense the openness. And when there is the openness, you can, out of the love that you are, you share. But and you can share at many different levels. You know, you're always sharing at your level of understanding and the level of receptivity that you're sensing.
Yeah. And I notice, because I've had some chance to be together with you, I've noticed that you're really sharing on all levels at once. From the, the brotherly, the friendly, the infinite. I noticed that, and that's the most holistic, because why wouldn't you share on all levels?
Yes, we're all friends. We are friends. We're connected at the heart, and so it comes easy to us. It's natural to us to be so innocent and loving and friendly. But what's in the way is what's been added on, you know, that the me, the whole me structure, and then the you, me and you, and measuring you and measuring myself. So that's the spoiler, you see, that's the spoiler. And we don't love it. We really don't love it. We sort of, we think that there is no other way, but there is, because the self, you know, what our true nature is always there. It's not like it disappeared. No, it's always there. We haven't turned into an oak tree or into an acorn. Our true nature is always there. So that's what's really beautiful. And it's very lovely that we turn our attention to our true nature, and we contemplate, you know, the peace. We contemplate the truth. And then all these shadows, they dissolve, and we find ourselves in our innocence, in our natural beingness, which is there's no images of you, of me, of her, of him. Who cares? Who cares about that stuff?
So I noticed this thing about, it's sort of like sending the work overseas. It's like I say, oh, others, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I see the same thing. The exact same thing is, if I am serious about my own continual happiness, you know, innocence and stuff,
yes.
Then these things, I still find some things where I go, oh, I'm so happy because I've got this, I've got this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm aware that I'm partly pulled apart, you know, partly not whole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like,
you know, any condition you put on your happiness is limits your happiness. You know, you love happiness,
yes,
but you don't love happiness with conditions. You know, that I'm happy when I have this or when I have that. No, or because of this or because of that. Happiness is the happiness that we love is unconditional, completely unconditional.
yeah. So you could say, I'm happy because my happiness is sort of self-existent.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I'm not happy because I have something temporarily that I want.
Right. I am happiness. You see, any way you define yourself in an objective way is a limitation. If you define yourself as the grand emperor of Rome or whatever, it's still limited. It's still limited. But happiness is not limited. A happy body is different from happiness. A happy mind is different from happiness. So when we say, I am happiness, does not mean I'm a happy body or I'm a happy mind. I am happiness, meaning I am beingness, awareness, presence, the wholeness of being, awareness, consciousness, universal consciousness, borderless consciousness that has no opposite. When there is no opposite, when there are not two, that's referred to as peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when there is no other tribe, the Sioux and the Apache. You know, when you don't have those tribes, there's one. That's referred to as peace. And peace and happiness come together. Happiness means there's peace and there's the joy of being. This is the joy of consciousness. See, so not I am happy because this because of this or that. No, I am what am I? I am happiness. I am beingness, presence, peace, happiness, love.
Yeah, and so there's some point where it's a shift, a tilt all the way
Yes.
into that,
Yes.
and not a second thought about, well, how will this affect how things work out, or any of that.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. So the contemplation is the contemplation of what am I? What am I? If I still am defined as somebody,
Yeah.
a happy body or an unhappy body,
Mm-hmm.
there's still some limitation. So the spoiler in the happiness is the me. That this grabbing on, there is some impression that this happiness needs to belong to me.
Mm.
And there is some me impression. There is actually no real me. It's just a thought and a sensation that I need to hold on to it. I need to make sure I don't lose it, which is just a thought. Because in fact, in this very moment, you're happy, but there is no thought of holding on to anything. And here is your very proof that happiness is completely free of holding on to anything. But now imagine that you must remember, you must really capture this happiness now. So you try to, and if you don't capture it correctly, God, you're not going to be happy. That's that thought in itself that comes in. It's just a thought. It can be a real spoiler.
Yes.
And you may feel like, oh God, I hope I remember every word. I hope I'm going to remember how I'm feeling now. And it's a spoiler. The happiness that we really love, we don't even remember it.
Yeah.
And we don't need to, because there is no memory in it. It's just pure beingness. Memory in itself is a limitation. It's a thought. I mean, a limitation in that when the memory is important for our happiness, then it's a limitation. Otherwise, memory is just a thought that floats by. Who cares? A dime a dozen. So what am I? Am I a man, a person sitting here in this room? Or am I awareness?
Mm.
The light of being. Pure presence. The bliss of the self.
Mm. Yeah, I guess that's the heart of the satsang, is the what you're saying.
No, it's pure presence. The mind dissolved in presence, in beingness, rejoicing in beingness. The baby totally resting in mama's arms.
It's such a little bit of a conundrum that's like, I was about to say, I really enjoyed being real sick the last week. I was about to say that because I enjoyed being, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think, I was really miserable last week. So the body was miserable with,
Mm-hmm.
sick enough to not be able to do much. The body was miserable. I can access that there was a miserable certain, thing. I also know that I enjoyed the week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes.
And yet, even then, it's not that I enjoyed the week. I enjoyed myself.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I always keep, it's just, it like goes, it refers back to the manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So over and over, but that's why I tune in.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I tune in, and you just laid it out so completely. You know, you were like the mother.
Hmm.
Just relax, you know, saying, and so I hear that, and Ramana, you know, I've been reading Ramana Maharshi for 30, 40 years, and he just says, you know, abide in the self, give your full, there's nothing else but you know what I mean? You're giving to nothing else but this.
Yes.
And I always say, well, how do you do that, or who does it? You know what I mean? There's,
Mm.
but I feel the invitation, and I really appreciate it. You know what I mean? I hear it.
Yes.
And it's a little bit exciting too to think, oh my God, what the, the whole thing, the whole superstructure, the whole Tower of Babel or whatever it is, just to let it go. So
Yes. Yes.
It's a little bit exciting too, and a bit of an unknown in a way too.
Mm. Well, you know, as you recognize presence, you recognize the peace of being. It's direct recognition. Then the familiarity with it will occur of its own. Yes.
Right. Give the nervous system a break.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Ananda. Beautiful. Okay. So if there are any questions.
Hello, Magdi.
Yes. Hello, John.
This is John. Hi.
Yes. Hello, John.
Let's see. Okay. I guess I heard somebody speaking of non-duality during the week. Resonated with me. They used a statement, something about you like to date it, you like to you like to check it out, and you like to sort of use it and feel good with it, but not really, I guess, get in relationship or something. So what I got out of that, I don't know if I'm saying that the way they actually said it, but what I got out of that was certainly this person wanting to, enjoying the love of being one, the oneness, the absolute, knowing that peace, knowing that silence, knowing that stillness. And there's still this person that wants to do both, wants to I think wants to really use the stillness or the absolute, or as a way to enhance the person. And I feel that both ways. I do certainly sense the stillness and the peace, and what I would say is, like in a religious tradition, beyond all understanding. And that there's no concept for it necessarily. It can only be spoken of, but I do also know that as well. So really what I'm getting at here is it seems to me that there is a stillness that's the self, that's me, the peace, that's not transitory like all of the other things come and go and appear, and disappear, and yet there's the things that do appear, like emotions. I mean, you were talking about emotions tonight and other things and so forth and so on. Those things do appear, and they appear to have energy and so forth and so on, and power and to me, they both the appearances are happening simultaneously. So I'm just going to ask you to elaborate. It's probably late in the night to do that, but it is to elaborate on that, because it does. I do sense that they appear. Well, stillness doesn't appear, but it is, and the other stuff is appearing, but it seems to happen simultaneously, so that I'm not going to be trying to get rid of pain and suffering and all that kind of stuff, but they're both happening. But stillness is the primary. Stillness is what it's happening in, and that is really where I find my peace. And it is knowing that that is truly who I am, and falling in love with that.
Yes. Yes. That's good. That's good, John. So there is the peace, the stillness, the openness of being, awareness, consciousness, the reality of being, the reality of awareness. Yes? And then there are appearances, there are things that appear. Now, awareness, beingness, stillness is happiness. Yes, it's happiness, meaning there is nothing lacking to it. It's full within itself. It's the fullness, the wholeness within itself, without any lack. And that is happiness. It's peace and happiness. Yes? So that's the reality of consciousness. So there's a recognition of that. We recognize that as we turn our attention towards awareness, towards presence. And as we contemplate the qualities of awareness, we realize that awareness is just borderless, no issues. It's an eternal yesness, eternal beingness, peace and happiness, the freedom of being, the joy of being. Now then, there are events that appear. There are events such as perceptions, bodily sensations that are sort of cosmic. They're cosmic events. Then there are appearances, thoughts that appear to us. Also, they're cosmic events. But some of these thoughts have still in them the ignorance, meaning they still refer to me as a person. So while we recognize presence, awareness, there are thoughts that appear with me as a person. And these thoughts that appear with the impression or the belief of me as a person, or the reference to of I is a me, is a person. They sort of try to rob, they try to steal your knowingness. They say they try to veil your knowingness as happiness, as being, as peace, as presence, as stillness. They try to veil that and lure you into, I am John, I am this person. And as soon as that occurs, there is an experience in the body level. There is a sense of a contraction at the feeling level. We feel a reduction. We feel this wholeness of being comes, it sort of zooms into a certain structure that we refer to as an emotion or a contraction or a feeling. And that also appears, that's also a cosmic event. It is all a cosmic event. But we also have the potential within us to recognize the false from the true, which is the viveka, the discrimination between the false and from the real. The false is the thought that says, I am a person. I am John. How am I doing? I am this great person or this improving person, or no, I'm not improving. I thought I had it last week. Now I'm losing it. There is a discrimination that is very, very important, because without this discrimination, that thought is believed. And the thought is saying, you're John and you're not doing too good. You were doing better last week. Without the discrimination, that thought is believed, and that emotion builds its roots, sets its roots. It goes, oh, yep, I'm now feeling like shit. You know, I am now in trouble, and God damn, I mean, I was doing good last week, and look how I'm feeling. Here is the proof of how that it is true that I'm doing really bad. Look how I'm feeling. You see, so the thought sets roots into the body, and then the body, then this feeling, this sensation, this emotion becomes it's self-generating. It becomes its own engine to produce more of these me thoughts. Because now I am searching to fix my feelings. Now I'm in the fixing business. I am in the problem-solving business. So the discrimination is really important. And it is the discrimination between I am this aware presence right now, this effortless presence that hears these words, and I don't even do anything. It's just here I am. I am this amness. Yes? And I am
Yes.
John. I am John. I am born. How am I doing? This discrimination is really important. Now, the catch is that at the feeling level, once you're hooked, it's a little harder to brush it away. But it's not impossible. It is possible. It's a little easier to say, well, no, I'm not John, I'm consciousness. But it's much harder to say, oh, no, I'm not feeling like shit, I'm feeling good. You know what I mean? This. So at the feeling level, you need to be still at the feeling level. Allow this sensation without arguing with it. Allow it to be. Allow it to reveal its full spectrum without judging it, without trying to fix it. Allow it to be. Because when you're allowing it to be, you're inviting whatever this emotion is, this sensation is, you're inviting it to come to awareness. You're inviting the baby to come in mama's arms. You say, come to me. Okay? So we have to be willing to feel this emotion. You see? And not to rationalize it, not to spin, because spinning the mind sometimes is a movement away from being still with the emotion, with the feeling, with the sensations. You see, and sometimes we run away in our head. You know what I mean? In our thoughts. Be willing to be still. So yes, everything arises as one. I think that's one of the things you were saying, that both presence and whatever arises, they're indistinguishable. Yes, they are as one. All is the self. But you also have the potential of discrimination, because our interest is not to make a very beautiful philosophical statement about all is one, or the real. We are interested in happiness. We are traveling, let's say. We're journeying together from ignorance to the bliss of the self. It's an actual journey, but it's a journey that takes no step. It's not a journey in time and space. It's a journey from here to here, and it's a journey from the impression of now to the reality of eternity. Yes? So it all arises together, and our task, and our joyful task, our loving task, is the contemplation and noticing, separating the ignorance from the truth. Separating, recognizing those tendencies, those old tendencies of being in me, that is saying, oh, I have a problem, come and fix me. And saying, okay, I recognize you. You're arising in the vastness of being. Vastness of being has no problem. It's the godly mother. It embraces everything and everyone.
Yeah. Yes. You know, Meg, the allowing, as you said, this allowing the emotions of even the thoughts, as you said, the mind starts to spin off somewhere and so forth and create a story and back and forth, to use present and past. But even allowing that to be, to come and go and witnessing all of that, one could say, really is really coming back to myself, in a sense.
Yes.
Self. I mean, say the self, if that's better, but it is coming back to the self. And I realized the beautiful thing, what was beautiful, and really the happiness beyond all understanding is that these things that appear, and like emotion and suffering and all, really, this week, or I should say, well, it was probably the weekend and earlier during the week, there was this sort of, there was this sort of happiness to go to contemplation and realize who I am.
Yes, beautiful.
That was never experienced with suffering before.
Yes, beautiful. That's nice. Yes.
Yeah. And it's not it's not conditionings that it's going to even change, but just the immediacy of that, the spontaneity, beauty, and wanting to be myself.
Yes. It's beautiful, because everything that arises is an invitation from God. And once you recognize God's invitation, even when there is a thunderstorm that arises, you recognize God's voice and you say, I love you. It's beautiful. Here I am. Here I am.
Here I am. Thank you, Magdi. Thank you.
Okay, John. Beautiful. Very beautiful. Okay, John.
Something else occurred to me, if you have another minute.
Yes, Ananda.
It seems some of the more intense things that I do, experiences I have, I kind of think, well, this is a good one. I'll probably really enjoy it, but it's sort of like going on a roller coaster and saying, okay, I'll take what I get. And as opposed to like what John was just saying, going consciously and deliberately to self as happiness, you know. So what I'm thinking of is, in the midst of say I was doing a presentation to a group or doing something that sort of takes me to an unusual emotional place, you know. Do you still practice, shall I still practice the same self-abidance or inquiry or whatever you want to call it in the midst of these kind of experiences, or just let go into the experience and just say, well, you know, based on everything I know, it's safe to just be?
Well, whenever there is room, whenever there is space for contemplation, then you do the contemplation. Sometimes there isn't room for that. There is a certain activity, and within the activity, there may be some space for the contemplation. And the way the space of the contemplation comes is that it's a remembrance. There's like a, you hear some sort of knocking, but you have to hear it. You know, it's maybe faint, that calls you to the contemplation. For example, if you're making a presentation to a group of people, there are usually some bodily sensations that may arise in relation to others. You know, they may be, I hope I do good, or how is he hearing? You know, did he body movement of maybe a certain person, or so there are all these there are some sensations that arise to you, and some of these sensations can be used to contemplate, wait a minute, the me and the other, you know, I'm creating an other and a me, let's say, and you can sense that there is a contraction, there is something that's becoming more concrete, like a block, sort of cement, like within you, in the and so there are hints, constant hints coming to you, freebies being given by consciousness, you know, to that can be vehicles for contemplation, because consciousness wants you to be in your complete freedom of being. Now, complete freedom of being does not mean you're a jellyfish. No, it you know, when you need to make a presentation, you are the presenter, you know, but you are the presenter on the surface, slightly beneath the surface. You're just the light of being, and the others are the presentees. You know, is this the right word? The presentees, you know, the people that are being presented to on the surface, but you recognize that below this layer, this external layer, there's just the light of being. They may not know it. Doesn't matter. It's still the light of being.
Right.
So you're not just a jellyfish. It depends. You are what the situations calls for on the surface, but within, you are nothing concrete. You are just the light of being, the love, the presence, the intelligence, the wisdom, the freedom.
Right.
So because what consciousness loves is love itself. Consciousness loves love, loves freedom, loves joy. It doesn't love, oh my God, I hope he likes me. Oh, I hope I do a good job in the presentation. Ah, did I do good? Did I do good? No, that's the me, that's the identified person, you see, and that is the unhappiness. But because you are on the path of happiness, of freedom, of joy, and of love, you're sensitive to these dimensions, to these processes, to these vasanas. You're sensitive to them, and you can sense them within your sensory field. And within your sensory field, you release them. You release the image, you release the sensation. You release yourself, and you release the other.
Right, because it's a false advertisement that says, "Oh, just forget your," you know. There's like a false advertisement that says, "Oh, just go with the body, mind," you know, the complex of what's happening. But then if you tune in a little bit, it's like, well, that doesn't feel good.
You go with consciousness. You don't go with the body, mind. You don't go with the body, mind. You go with consciousness. With consciousness. And consciousness is the freedom, the joy, the peace, the beauty, the love. That's what you go with.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's where there's the option to also practice the vasana releasing or whatever it is. And then there's, I was saying, in the opportunity to let go of those tensions which are uncomfortable comes right away with the choice for consciousness.
Yes. Yes, yes. You trust consciousness. You follow the path of consciousness. That's you trust. You don't trust the world, body, mind. You don't go with the flow of the world, body, mind. You go with consciousness. Consciousness meaning no me, no you. Just the presence, beingness. No image of myself and image of the other. No self-judgment, no judgment of the other. You recognize that judgment is the me. The image and me, the image of I or the other is me. That's all of that is the ignorance. But what perceives the image, that is the self. And when the self perceives the image dissolves and is released into self. It cannot stand into the light of the sun. The sun melts the ignorance. So you go with the consciousness, with the self.
Yeah. It's like it's cool. It's like a work that's totally vacation at the same time.
Yes, beautiful. Isn't that lovely?
You don't need a vacation from
vacation. Tara always, you know, sort of repeats to me whenever she talks about vacation. I tell her, well, vacation is vacating the self, is vacation from ignorance, is vacation from the me. That's the true vacation. She says, well, what about we go to California?
Yes, come on.
So, okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I see that. That's a good little story. It shows the whole story, really.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, very lovely. So, you know, thank you for this very beautiful, you know, gathering. Wonderful, and nice to see you, Weshti. Very beautiful. Okay, Yalla. We'll see you soon. Okay.